Ladies and gentlemen, g'day, welcome back to the channel. My name is Economics Mate. This is WOT Blitz. And if you're wondering what this video is, well, do you remember when I made that video on the do's and don'ts of heavy tanks in WOT Blitz? Well, my good friend Adam and my brother, aka I've played these games before, has sent me a replay on the same day that he sent me that AMX replay. And he said to me, Eco, I promise to you, this is going to be one of the best Caro 45T video replays that you'll ever see. And it'll be perfect for you to do a do and don't for medium tanks, specifically medium tanks that have an auto reloader. Now, keep in mind, there are only 3 tanks at T10, or I should probably say 3 medium tanks at T10 that have an auto reloading gun. It's the Progetto 65, the Lion, and the Caro 45T. Now, obviously, if you want to take into consideration the T9s and the Tier 8s and all that kind of stuff, like the Standard B, for instance, and the P44 Pantera, fair enough. Actually, let me just check real quick. I want to make sure that the P44 Pantera is actually an auto-reloading tank. Yes, it is. Okay, it's auto-reloader. Because problem is, obviously, I don't have the Progetto 65, so I have to sometimes go back and fact-check myself, but I was right, it is a auto-reloading tank. So, this video is specifically for those players who have auto-reloaders, specifically auto-reloading medium tanks. So this is going to be specifically talking about this. Because a friend of mine was saying that, hey, I know you did a heavy tanks one, but I mean, it's a bit of a broad sort of spectrum, so let's sort of maybe focus on a specific type of heavy tank next time. So I'm going to do that. Without further ado, let's break down this video. And here is Adam playing in his Caro 45T glitch on Milonjevic. I think that's how you pronounce it. I think that's how you pronounce it. Okay, so let's have a look at the equipment before we start the battle. Okay, he's running speed boost, he's running repair kit, and he's running the multi-purpose repair kit. Okay, and straight off the bat he hits the speed boost. Now notice how the Caro has 4 shells in its clip. It's an auto reloader. Don't forget, it is an auto reloading medium tank. So you need to be very careful that you don't waste all your shots all at once, and well, take precaution when you're using your shots. Okay, let's pause the video right here. The first smart move by Adam is, of course, taking the middle side here and using the hill to use his gun depression, because he's got pretty decent gun depression, to spot the area over there, base A and around base A, because if you look at the map, realistically speaking, a lot of the times, especially on this map, you're going to have mediums and you're going to have light tanks that are going to go this direction. But if you notice, the enemy team is only made up of 2 tank destroyers and 5 heavy tanks. So there is a high possibility that those heavy tanks and those tank destroyers are going to make their way to base C. But who knows? Let us have a look and see. So I guess my first do would be, of course, to make sure that you're in a position like this, where you have a hill that you can use to use your gun depression, and of course have hard cover next to you as spotting. So basic medium tank skills. Here we go. Let's see what he's going to do. Now, notice what he's doing there. He's moving up, he's moving in and out, in and out, in and out. That is an old tactic for, old veteran players that we used to use, and obviously skilled players, where it basically makes your tank harder to hit and also increases the opportunity for a bounce. Very smart move there to hit the E100. Make sure you get 2 shots in. Notice how you don't have to reload your gun. And that's because it's an auto reloader. So as long as you're not using all of your shells, your DPM would be pretty consistent with that sort of thing. Now, he is trying to go for a tracking shot. Can he get another tracking shot? Yes, he can. He's doing very, very well. 2 400 alpha shots. Beautiful. Now, notice how he doesn't bother with the E100. He's trying to reload his 4. Obviously the 2 shells that he hits. Now, obviously, he does not wait. Let's pause it there. Okay. Obviously, this is a very specific battle. Unfortunately, he's 1 tank down. Now, in a normal situation, coming up against 3 or 4 heavy tanks and you're in a medium, likelihood of you surviving, pretty slim. Luckily for him, there was an AMX-50B who pushed all the way in and YOLO'd and got himself killed. So they were focusing on killing him rather than focusing on Adam. So this is a very interesting feat of skill here, I would say. I would say this is a very good piece of advice in my opinion. And it is, be aware of where your friendly tanks are. Trust me. Because when you're aware of where your friendly tanks are and your teammates are, it makes a whole lot different. It makes a really big difference in how the game progresses and your survivability. Because if the enemy team are focusing on one specific player on your team, it leaves them vulnerable and open for you to shoot them and you to gain damage. And that's exactly what Adam did. He took advantage of that. Yes, he got shot once for 491 alpha, but at the end of the day, all those heavies were focusing on that AMX-50B rather than focusing on him. So he managed to get off quite a few shots and he's basically almost at 2,000 damage already. It's quite cool to see. Let us continue with this replay to see exactly what he's doing. So that would be a big do for me. Big massive do would be obviously making sure that you're aware of your surroundings. But a big don't before we continue on. So being aware of your surroundings and taking advantage of tanks that are not looking at you are all well and true, but do not push too far up. Stay, as you see Adam here, he's got hard cover between him. He's only poking out when he needs to. He's using the hill to use his gun depression and use the armor on his turret and the front of the hull to make a difference, to at least sort of increase the probability of getting a bounce and not being penned. It's a very important feat, so make sure you don't overextend. Now, how does this apply to an auto-reloading medium tank? Well, because you have an auto-reloader, if you fire all 4 of your shells, your DPM is going to be worse. If you fire off 1 or 2 shots and you go back and you wait for them to reload, your DPM is going to be much better than if you fired 3 or 4 of your shots. So just be wary of that. Okay, when you fire all of your shots, technically speaking, your last shell is technically a reserve shell. That's what it is. Technically, it is a reserve shell. Not all auto-reloading tanks have a reserve shell, but if you want to look at it from that aspect, technically speaking, your last shell is your reserve shell. So try not to use that last shell unless it's in any emergency. Obviously, with the Caro, you got 4 shells to choose from. Typically speaking, I would recommend to only shoot 3 of them at a time and save that shell, the last shell, just in case you desperately need to do an extra bit of damage to guarantee a kill, basically. That would be my opinion. So this is what, obviously, the correlation is to auto-reloading medium tanks. Let's continue. So, yeah, obviously a big do would be using your surroundings, using your heals, that kind of stuff. Okay. Beautiful shot. Beautiful shot. He waited for that M6Yo to turn his turret around before he did damage. Boom, gets another shot into that VK-45. See what I was saying about only using 3 shells? He only used 3 of his shells because he knows if he uses his 4th shell, his DPM is going to be crap. Unfortunately, the M6Yo does clear another tank, and I'm pretty sure he clears, yeah, the FV215B183. Perfect opportunity. See, he sees the 215B183 coming up for him. He gets that shot onto him, kills him. Very, very good. Let's pause it there. Notice how he was obviously going to fire another shot into that E100, the enemy E100. He chose not to. Instead, he saw the FV215B183 coming up from that direction. So he paused, turned his turret around, turned his tank around, and made sure to get a snapshot onto the top of the turret of that FV to clear him, because he's a devastating tank. If that FV got 1 shot into that Caro, that would have been the end of the game. He would have been shot once, maybe had 900 of his hit points depleted, another shot from another tank, boom, he's dead. Bob's your uncle. But no, he made sure to preserve his hit points, didn't overextend, turned around, saw that enemy tank, and cleared him. Remember when I said it's better to clear a tank than to do damage in this situation? Because clearing a gun is more important to guarantee a win than doing some more damage. So very, very good skill play there by Adam, and that's exactly a point that I would like to make. Make sure you do this. If you're focusing firing on something and you notice in the corner of your eye or on the map that there's another tank coming that's low hit points, stop shooting at the tank in front of you. Clear that tank. If no one else is going to do it, you best do it. So that way, at least there's one less tank to worry about, especially one like a 183 that could maybe shoot you with Hesh, and that's 1,300 of your damage, 1,200 of your hit points gone. So be wary of that. And don't, under any circumstances, especially in an auto-reloading tank, use that last shell to get a kill in. Wait for the second shell to be reloaded and then shoot with that shell. Let's go. He's on 3,600 damage. His team is dropping like flies. There's only 2 other teammates on his team. A full health, what are we looking at? Full health E75. And it looks like an almost full health IS-8. So 2 T9 tanks. And they're capping B. Now, pause the video here again. What is Adam doing? For those of you who don't know, he's 1, resetting his camo, which is very important, and 2, repositioning himself so he's in a much more strategic position and a position that is going to give him an advantage to get shots off on those heavy tanks over there in that direction in next to base C or across from base C. And it's the perfect opportunity. Now, that E75 on his team is an absolute muppet. Why, do you ask? Well, look where he is. He's got full health, and he's in the base. He's still in the base. For God's sake. So, big do here, in my opinion, would be do what he's doing. Do what Adam's doing. Reposition your tank, get yourself in a better position, and reset your camouflage. And a big don't would be, do not sit in the same position that you originally were. Reposition yourself. Always reposition, especially in an auto-reloading tank. You want to get in positions where you're not going to get shot that often and you're able to reposition yourself. Now, notice how he hits him with HE. Very smart move here. You see that? 625 alpha damage. A max roll with high explosive on the arse of that T110E5. That, my friends, is smart gameplay. You're switching to the HE. This is a massive do. This is a crucial skill that players tend to forget. Know the armor profiles of tanks, especially heavies. Know that basically all American heavy tanks, their asses are paper thin. Same with tank destroyers, same with TDs and medium tanks. Hit them with high explosive. You're gonna pen. As you see there. So a massive do would be switch to your high explosive and hit the asses there. Especially if you've got an auto reloader. Use that high explosive and use your auto reloading gun to just get shot after shot after shot. But make sure you aim in your shots. You don't want to hit the tracks. So, can you get another shot in? Okay, beautiful. He switches to the AP. And again, notice how he's saving his last shell so he can recuperate his shells again. That T110, that K91 is making his way down. Again, very smart positioning. He's repositioning his tank. He's going towards the T110E5. Gets a lucky bounce, but he does clear another target. Again, makes his way around here and tries to, gain his hit points back. Now, he's on 5,280 damage, which is no weak feat. That is a very good amount of damage, especially in a game like this when you're basically down one tank from the very get-go. It's a supremacy match. That K91 has no idea. He's positioned himself in a very good position. Pause the video right here. Notice how he's moving between buildings and keeping that ruined structure between him and the K91. Ladies and gentlemen, this is quintessential tank gameplay, especially for a medium tank like this. You do not want to be in an engagement with a heavy tank when you are still reloading your shots in an auto-reloader. Remember how I keep saying, always make sure you don't fire that last shot, because it is going to kill your DPM. Because on all auto-reloaders, especially the Caro, technically speaking, your last shell is your reserve shell. It's not meant to be fired. You're meant to fire your 2 shots and then that's it, or your 1 shot and that's it. Not your last shell. Keep it. Savor it. Only use it when you've got a full clip and you desperately need to take out another target. Again, talking back and how he's positioning his tank. He's got his turret facing rearwards, so if he needs to shoot, he will. And he's keeping a distance between him and the enemy tank. And he's got a structure there to make sure that he doesn't get hit. So this is a massive do as a medium tank player. Make sure you do this. Very, very smart. And don't, under any circumstances, just try to circle around the tank or, basically just try to escape by going over bridges and whatnot. No, make sure you use the cover. It's very important. Here we go. Let's see how this is going to play out. Beautiful positioning here from Adam, using not only, beautiful high roll, 475 damage. That's his second shell. Fires again, beautiful shot, goes back into cover. Piss easy. 6,870 damage and 2 kills. Now, what I think Adam is going to do is he's probably going to use that E75 to his advantage. If those enemy tanks move towards the E75, they're going to try and hit him because he's basically free damage. Now, notice how someone is capping the B cap. It's unfortunate that it is a supremacy match, because if this was a normal match, the outcome might be slightly different. Who knows? Let us have a look. Another beautiful shot. Notice how he waited until that VK was moving towards him, facing sideways, before he did any damage. That's a very good point. Always make sure you pick your targets properly. Don't just fire on whatever you want. He's waiting for the K91 to make a mistake. Is he going to push? Nope. Gets 1 shot off. Unfortunately, okay. Let me pause it right there. I presume Adam made a mistake, as we all do. Doesn't matter how much of a skilled player you are, doesn't matter how much of a pro you are, at the end of the day, we all make mistakes. And the mistake that Adam did here was he wasn't facing the K91 frontally, and he wasn't wiggling and jiggling like he probably should have, to maybe increase his possibility of not getting shot. But unfortunately, he did. He's taken damage. And he's essentially a one-shot for basically every tank on the enemy team. Notice how he also has 2 shells left. Yes, he's on 3 kills. Yes, he's on 7,721 damage. But he has to preserve his hit points. So, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever, I'm saying, do not do what Adam just did. Take your time. Take a deep breath if you're in a situation like this, and reposition your tank by making sure your frontal armor is in the front and your turret is facing the front, and you're fine. You should be fine if you do that. Adam, I'm not telling you off. I'm just saying thank you for showing what not to do in a certain situation. Beautiful there. He gets that shot in. Now, in this situation, no, he's going to wait for that shell to reload. Very interesting tanking. Gets a shot into him. Beautiful. And now, this is beautiful positioning right here. Notice how he used that reserve shell. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, we say, do not use your reserve shell. Because of this. If your tank has a reserve shell, don't use it. 9,009 damage. 4 kills. What an absolutely incredible replay that was, and what an absolute heartbreak. Wow, crazy. Now notice how I was saying, technically speaking, in quotation marks, every auto-reloading tank has a reserve shell, even though it might not. I say that to make sure people don't use all 3 of their shells and only use all 3 or all 2 of their shells or all 4 of their shells, and only use the shells that they really desperately need. And save that last shell so your DPM doesn't get completely stuffed. Now, in the case of the Caro 45T, technically speaking, it only has 3 shells. That force shell is nothing more than a reserve shell. And that's why when you saw that, he reloaded. But guess what? It took him 19 seconds to reload the first shell again. Pretty insane. So, if you guys were a little bit confused as to what I was saying, again, let me backtrack. All auto-reloading tanks technically, in quotation marks, technically have a reserve shell, even though they might not. And that's why I say don't fire all of the shells, but only fire 1 or 2 or 3 if you have 4 in your clip. Okay? So that way your DPM is better and you'll reload faster. Okay? Now, in the case of the 45T, for instance, the Caro, this has a reserve shell. It has a reserve shell, has an extra shell in the clip that you're not supposed to use unless it's an emergency. And that's what Adam did. He used it, didn't end up killing the M6Yo, and unfortunately, he died. Because it would have taken him 19 seconds to reload that shell again. Pretty crazy. But 9,009 damage, 4 kills, ace mastery, high caliber. Look at how he dominated his team. 2 tanks on his team did 0 damage. The E75 was AFK. The FV215B103 did 0 damage. The WZ1 Level 5A, a Tier 10 heavy tank, 440 damage. The AMX50B, 742 damage. The IS8, 1,700 damage. Crazy. That T110E5 that he was facing did 0 damage. 0 damage. It's a Tier 10 heavy tank. Insane. What an absolutely amazing replay that was. Adam, thank you for sending me that in. And hopefully, guys, this gives you a better insight on how to play the do's and don'ts of auto-reloading medium tanks. As always, love you all. Take care. Look after yourselves. Look after your friends and family. Peace in the Middle East. And I'll catch you on the battlefield. Bye for now.